Chicago Bears. They are trying to push forward and build their brand new stadium in Arlington Heights. This team has pledged already more than $2 billion in private funding, but they're also looking for taxpayer support when it comes to the public infrastructure support around that stadium. We're joined now by John Boyd from the Boyd Company. He is an expert on stadiums and economic development. Thanks so much for your time here.
Good to be with you.
Can you break it down for our viewers here? Chicago Bears, they've already pledged $2 billion of their own money to help build the stadium. What exactly with this other money that they're asking for taxpayers funded for infrastructure, what exactly does that mean and what does that look like?
You know, to get projects of this scale over the finish line, it really is a mix of private and public funding. And what the Bears are asking for, roughly $900 million in taxpayer money. This will be tax breaks. It'll be infrastructure investments, things like new roads and sewers to accommodate this new stadium in Arlington Heights. And it's really in line with other recent NFL stadium packages, like the Cleveland Browns' new stadium in Brook Park, RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. And it's significantly less than what the Titans have asked for with respect to their new stadium in Nashville.
You mentioned other cities and teams from around the country, how they've been getting some taxpayer support to help with the infrastructure around their new stadiums. Why are these teams that are worth billions of dollars asking for this tax money while big companies like Microsoft and Amazon, they're building here in Illinois without that taxpayer money?
You know, I would argue that from a business climate perspective, streamlining zoning and making a more efficient process for incentives will improve Illinois' competitiveness versus states like Texas and Tennessee and its neighbor Indiana. This mega projects bill in particular will not just help the Bears negotiate directly with the village of Arlington Heights, but it will help advance manufacturers and AI data centers prepared to invest billions of dollars in new data center activity, kind of lock in a more predictable tax rate. And it removes one of the biggest obstacles to getting major economic development deals over the finish line, and that's uncertainty. Okay, so we understand that public subsidies are very controversial. They've never been more controversial than they are today, but we tend to term them a necessary evil, okay, because our clients expect them, and other states that Illinois is competing with are offering these types of incentives, particularly significant property tax abatements. And look, Illinois consistently ranks among the most difficult and costly states in the U.S. to do business. So in addition to this Bears Stadium staying in Illinois, okay, in Arlington Heights with a new amenity-rich new economic development opportunity, it could also be a catalyst for some new legislation that actually improves Illinois' competitiveness.
You mentioned the state of Illinois being one of the most expensive states in the country to do business in. With that said, what role does Governor J.B. Pritzker play in this debate, and what is his role in potentially either this getting done or not getting done?
Well, Governor Pritzker has been very proactive in meeting with companies. He's someone that prioritizes economic development. He'll play a very significant role in assessing just what is appropriate in terms of the state assistance to get this deal over the finish line. I think part of that will be making sure the organization does right by Chicago with respect to the refurbishing and the bonds that were issued back in the early 2000s. I would expect that to be part of an overall deal, as well as a community benefits package that are very typical in major projects like this one.
John, from people you've possibly talked to across the state and in Springfield, just how likely is it for this General Assembly to approve this mega project bill during the upcoming veto session? And part two of that question, if it does not get approved, what does this do for the Bears' timeline of getting the stadium built?
I believe that the bill will pass, and you look ahead to this 2026, it'll be the 40th anniversary of the Bears' last winning Super Bowl. What a great way to mark that occasion as they chart the next part of the Bears in the state of Illinois. And, again, tweak the state business climate with respect to zoning, permitting, and incentives to help Illinois win other types of trophy projects, big, large-scale advanced manufacturing, as well as AI data centers. these projects are generating billions of dollars in new capital investments and thousands of high-paying jobs in states around the country. We'd like to see Illinois join in on that.
If this does pass, as you said you think it will, what would this mean for future projects here in the state of Illinois when it comes to specifically sports facilities? Chicago Fire are building a new stadium. Chicago White Sox want one. If this passes, what would this mean for both of those projects?
Well, it'll be a great precedent for those organizations to handle their negotiations, their site selection practices, and there'll be some immediate economic impact. You'd expect new housing development activity. Okay, other types of commercial space, hotels, restaurants. Interesting proposals to revitalize the area around Soldier Field. Obviously, open space and public access is a major priority of the mayor, but that'll be an economic development opportunity in and of itself if that's handled properly.
And if this does pass, what would you say, I guess, are the long-term economic benefits, not just for the Bears, potentially the Fire and the White Sox, but just the entire state?
Well, you're looking at almost 60,000 new construction jobs, about 10,000 permanent jobs. You're looking at millions of dollars annually for Arlington Heights tax coffers. Okay, you're looking at an economic impact. I've seen an economic impact figures that approach $20 billion over the next 30 to 40 years. That's very significant. And look, Chicagoland will have a new state-of-the-art, amenity-rich, domed stadium that can house a Super Bowl. Okay, Goodell and the NFL like to reward markets that have new stadiums with Super Bowls. Okay, there'll be a great naming rights opportunity here. I would think that this will be one of the most coveted naming right opportunities in the NFL. And you have a new venue to host events year-round. Okay, I think the Dome is a very strong driver of new economic potential here with the stadium.
Obviously, we know how Chicago winters can be for sure here. Under this current proposal, what influence, if any, do local school districts as well as park districts have?
Well, I mean, under this proposal, the Bears will be able to directly negotiate really with those most involved, the biggest, closest stakeholders. So it'll be the village of Arlington Heights, it'll be the school district, it'll be the park commission, and less so dealing with a more, a county assessor that has a broader constituency to answer to. Okay, that in and of itself is an economic development opportunity. Companies want government to move at the speed of business. Okay, so this allowing the Bears to deal directly with stakeholders most intimately involved in this project really will help get this deal get this deal done. It'll help other deals get done in the months ahead also.
And speaking of this deal potentially getting done in the future, John, what is the timeline for this?
I think the Bears would like to get going as soon as possible. I think 2029 would be a very realistic figure. You look at other timelines of similar types of stadium constructions. It's about 2 to 3 years to do a major new stadium. We would expect that to be the case here.
And what would be the timeline for this bill passing in order to meet that construction timeline?
I would hope by the spring legislature that all the pieces of the puzzle are in order and the team can move ahead and begin this ambitious and exciting construction project. Not just the new stadium, but also new housing, new retail, new commercial space, new hotels, and this really will be a significant driver of both short-term construction jobs and long-term employment also.